This week, we are talking about the best 35mm camera that money can buy. I said it. I fucking said it! Welcome back, everybody, to my second YouTube video ever. That's pretty amazing. I honestly thought for sure that I was going to quit after video number 1, but I didn't, and here I am. So hola, welcome back. Thank you for watching my first video. It's kind of weird that I put out a first video reviewing a very obscure camera, but that's just who I am, is what I do. So this week we're going to be talking about the Nikon F3 and why I believe that this is truly the best camera that money can actually buy in 35mm photography. And I will go over some of the reasons why I believe that. And also, I will preface this video by letting you know that this is not a full review of the Nikon F3. This is simply just me telling you why I have loved and adored shooting it over the last 3 years and versus all my other 35mm cameras that I've used in that time. That is sort of where I'm coming at. Every time. Some of the things that I really love about this camera versus all of the other cameras that I have at least used probably 20 35mm cameras, and this one in particular has always been the one that I seem to have grabbed. And I actually just sold another. I used to have 2 of these, but I was just like, I don't really need 2. And there was a nice gentleman in Chicago that wanted to buy one for his father. And I said, you know what? If you love something, set it free. So that's what I did. This has been my main go-to 35mm SLR camera, I'll say, for the past 3 years, since the dawn of time that I've been into film and analog photography. I think that a big step in your decision to start dabbling in film photography, and I'm assuming many people watching this video are either thinking about getting into film photography or looking for their first camera, or maybe looking to upgrade to a better sort of 35mm camera. I have always sort of skipped the line when it comes to when I buy my first cameras. I usually buy my favorite of the research that I've compiled. I usually buy the best. I have never really cared about price because in my experience, if you buy a hunk of junk, if you buy a fucking piece of doggy doo, you're just going to end up having to repurchase a camera in the future. So I think that if you're watching this channel, that's one piece of advice I would give, is do your research on whatever camera you think will fit best for you, but also don't be scared to wait and save and spend a little more money on what it is that you think you actually want. And I know that they're going up in price. To be honest, I don't even know what the price of them are now, so let me just take a gander. When I purchased mine, I think I got the Nikon F3 with this 35mm f2 lens for like $300 Canadian. So it was like 200 US. But I'm assuming they've gone up. But they're not too bad. Let's go to the buy it now price. Okay. So you can get a near mint HP version, which is the high point viewfinder. I used to have one. I just sold it, but I didn't really care that much for the HP version. I just really like the simplicity of the normal Nikon F3 version. But I know that a lot of people, especially I think that have glasses, like to shoot with the HP version. So that's something to consider. But if you're just a simple folk like myself, then you'll be fine with the F3. But yeah, it looks like the prices have definitely gone up. In fact, I think I might have got ripped off selling my HP. Basically, you can get them now for, it looks like, around $300 Canadian, body only, no lens. So you're looking at probably $350 US for a Nikon F3 with a lens, some type of lens. The 2 lenses that I have are the 35mm f2 and the Nikkor 50mm f1.4. This is a very old lens. Crazy story. When I lived in Vancouver, I was looking for my first prime lens when I shot Canon. I think I had a Canon T5i or something. And I had just started my first video business. This would have been in 2011, believe it or not. And I wanted a prime lens, my first ever prime manual lens. And this was what I bought. So this has been with me and on many types of camera systems for many years. Okay, let's get into the camera itself and why I love it. So one of the things that I really love about the Nikon F3 is that it actually has an exposure compensation dial. And I know that from shooting some other SLR cameras, not all of them have exposure compensation. And it's a nice feature to have because if you kind of come from the digital world, film ratings can kind of be confusing to just your brain sometimes. For instance, I can give you a good example. With CineStill 800T, a lot of people recommend that you shoot it at ISO 500, which is essentially overexposing the film stock. I don't always like to do that because then it confuses me when it comes to the actual development process. It doesn't really confuse me. I'm just lazy and I like things to be developed at box speed. So I will shoot it at 800, but then I will move the exposure compensation dial up one stop so that now I know I'm overexposing my 800 film by one stop. And that is essentially rating your film at 500 speed. So I really love the exposure compensation dial for that because then I can still develop at box speed and it's very easy and it just makes sense. Like my brain is just so dumb, especially when I'm, developing my film at home. It's so easy to just make a mistake and fuck up. And so this just makes it very easy for me. Some other things that I love about this camera, it has a very nice dial here that is actually lockable, and I'm a huge fan of lockable dials. So we have the main dial, which is basically just your shutter speeds. For me, sometimes if I'm feeling lazy and I don't want to dial in my exposure, or if the light's changing rapidly, I will just throw it on automatic mode, which is aperture priority mode. And then all I really have to worry about is what aperture I'm shooting in. And then the rest I can just go in and shoot. And then obviously you want to keep an eye on your shutter speed to make sure that you're not really going below. Well, I never really go below 1/60th of a second, just because I don't know if I have steady hands. I'm not a surgeon, so I just don't like to risk it and waste frames and money, and then my kid doesn't eat for years. But the best thing about the Nikon F3 for a beginner and for anybody who shoots 35mm, the absolute best thing about it is that it is built like a fucking brick shit house. That's what everyone used to say about me when I was little. And now I'm just fat. It is a sturdy, stable beast of a small SLR 35mm camera. And some of Nikkor's lenses are very cheap and very, very, very good. I don't have the best lenses for this camera by far, not even close. But I still love it. I own the 35mm and the 50mm, and that's all I need. Little things about this: it has self-timer mode. It also has a shutter release that if your battery happens to go out on this, you can still go shoot with the mechanical shutter, which is also very handy, and I've used it several times. One time I was hiking in Kelowna, and my batteries must have died on the way there because as soon as I got to the top of the hill, I began wanting to take some photos. And when I took it out, I realized, oh wow, I guess I'm shooting mechanically today. And I did, and I ended up getting some not that good photos, to be honest. But you know what? That's part of the joy of it, is most of the time you get shit. And that's just the fun, I guess. Because with digital cameras, with my Sony A7R3, most of the time I'm getting bangers. You know what I mean? Fucking bangers. The other cool thing about this camera is if you wanted to just get a new viewfinder, it's very, very easy to just remove it. It also has, if you want, you can just use the prism like this. If you want, I don't know why you would want to, but I can literally see what I'm shooting. I can focus. I mean, it's kind of a fun way to shoot, I suppose. But put your viewfinder on. Don't be a Dale. You know what I mean? The biggest thing that I want you to take away from this video is that if you're looking at getting your first SLR 35mm camera and you want something that has interchangeable lenses, an extremely good, beautifully designed build, complete with an astronomical amount of lenses that you can mount onto this thing, and if you don't have that much money and you don't want to buy a Leica M6 to be with the cool kids, this is about as good as it gets. This is the best. One of the most iconic cameras ever in the world is the Nikon F3. Truly, like, it lives up to the hype of its name. And I'm not just fanboying. I've went through several SLR cameras since purchasing my Nikon F3, and this is still the one I reach for every single time I go out. I love it. I love the sound of the shutter. I will waste it just so that you can hear it. I will waste the frame. Maybe I'll just take a pic. All right, turn it on. Probably there, dank. All right, so this isn't going to be exposed, but whatever. 1, 2, listen. Oh, so sexy. That's going to be wasted for sure. Cinestill. Shit's not cheap either. So yes, if you're thinking about getting your first 35mm camera and you want to buy the best value camera for your buck, 100% Nikon F3. Stay tuned for the review. Stay tuned for my next video. If you liked it, please hit the like button or subscribe for more awesome camera and other shit content. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video. Cheers! Cheers! Cheers!